When a person died, news of the passing was announced to relatives, friends, and the village, often accompanied by symbolic gunshots. This remarkable footage was filmed in 1930 by the Anglican missionary George Thomas Basden, who was working for the Church Missionary Society in Nigeria and was based in Onitsha at the time. Nearly a century later, it offers a rare glimpse into traditional Igbo funeral rites and beliefs about death, the spirit world, and the journey of the human soul. To the traditional Igbo, death was not seen as the end of existence. It was understood as a transition from the physical world to the spiritual realm. The dead were believed to continue existing among the ancestors, watching over their descendants and maintaining a connection with the living. Because of this belief, proper funeral rites were considered essential. They helped guide the deceased safely into the spirit world and ensured that the bond between the living and the dead remained intact. Basden would later observe the importance attached to burial ceremonies by the Igbo. In his book, Among the Igbos, he wrote that the aged last solemn wish is that the funeral rites shall be on such a scale that he may be spared all feelings of shame when he meets his former companions. End quote. In traditional Igbo society, burial was never simply about disposing of a body. It was a public statement about the life of the deceased, their achievements, their titles, and their place within the community. The funeral reflected deep respect for the deceased and a commitment to ensuring they are properly welcomed into the spirit world. When a person died, news of the passing was announced to relatives, friends, and the village, often accompanied by symbolic gunshots. Family members then began preparations for the burial and the ceremonies that would follow. The deceased was usually buried within the family compound. Many Igbo families preferred to keep their dead close to home, often placing them in specially prepared tombs or burial vaults within the compound. In some cases, the burial took place inside the person's own house. This practice reinforced the belief that the ancestors remained close to the family and continued to take an interest in the affairs of the living. A proper burial was considered necessary because the Igbo believed that a well-honored spirit would find peace among the ancestors. A neglected or improper burial, on the other hand, could leave a spirit restless and unable to complete its journey. Funeral rites, therefore, serve both a spiritual and social purpose. A crucial part of the process was the ceremony known as Ikwa Ozu. Although it is sometimes called a second burial in English, this is not strictly correct. Instead, it was the grand ceremony that formally honored the deceased and completed the mourning process. Through Ikwa Ozu, the family fulfilled its cultural obligations and publicly celebrated the life of the person who had died. Depending on the titles and status of the deceased, Ikwa Ozu could last from a single day to several days. During this period, relatives, friends, in-laws, age-grade associations, and visitors traveled from far and near to take part in the ceremonies. The event usually includes the breaking of kola nuts. Elders offered prayers, invoked blessings, and remembered the deceased before sharing the kola nut among those present. This ritual marked the formal opening of the gathering. Throughout the ceremony, gun salutes were fired using traditional Dane guns. The number and frequency of the salutes often reflected the social standing of the deceased. Music filled the air as drummers, singers, and dancers performed in honor of the departed. One of the most striking features of many traditional Igbo funerals was the appearance of masquerades. These masquerades were more than entertainers. They carried deep spiritual meaning and represented the presence and participation of the spirit world in the funeral rites. Their performances reminded everyone that death did not separate the living and the dead completely. Different groups within the community also participated through dances, songs, and cultural displays. Age grades, women's associations, and family groups each played their role in honoring the deceased. Guests gathered under designated canopies according to family relationships and social groups, while villagers freely moved between the various activities taking place. Food and drink were provided in abundance. Animals were slaughtered, palm wine was shared, and visitors were entertained throughout the celebration. In many cases, in-laws and visitors arrived with their own dancers and performers, adding to the festive atmosphere. Family members and friends often joined the dancing, turning the funeral into a celebration of a life well lived. In some communities, personal belongings of the deceased were also distributed among relatives. These items served as reminders of the person's life and as symbols of inheritance and continuity within the family. What we see in this footage is therefore much more than a funeral. It is a reflection of a traditional Igbo worldview in which life, death, ancestry, and community are deeply connected. These ceremonies were designed not only to mourn the dead, but also to celebrate their achievements, honor their memory, and ensure their successful transition into the world of the ancestors. Nearly 100 years after this film was recorded, it remains a valuable window into the beliefs and customs that shaped traditional Igbo society and its understanding of life beyond death.